kind of these iconic images that we now associate with social media. And that's amazing that we have all this media out there being produced by so many people, being produced by all of you here today who are tweeting and reporting on what you see. But at the same time, it's this flood of information, right? We are overwhelmed by all this media. There was a figure from Twitter saying that during Obama's speech about bin Laden being killed, that there were 5,000 tweets happening per second. That was the maximum. There's no way anybody could possibly comprehend that or read that in any way. So, but there are these critical elements inside those tweets that are really interesting. I mean, this tweet from this guy, really virtual, I'm sure a lot of you have heard this story, was actually there in the city of Abbottabad where bin Laden was found, and he was inadvertently live tweeting what was going on. And he kind of said this, "Go away, helicopter, before I take out my giant swatter." I mean, he didn't even know what was happening, but he was discovered after the raid happened. And actually, the way that the news first came to light in the US was not through the president going on TV and talking to people about it. It was actually this tweet from this guy, Keith Urban, who happens to be the chief of staff for the former Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld. This tweet got retweeted by a New York Times reporter, which then spread, and the news was already out there and people were already talking about it before any major news network reported it. So amid all this noise, amid the thousands of tweets of speculation or people talking about it, I mean, there are these crucial elements that are part of the story, that help tell the story. And that really is what Storify is about, that we think that this is the way stories are told now, where we all are part of the story, and we are reinventing the way to do that by bringing together social media elements into stories, whether it's from Twitter, from Facebook, from YouTube, videos, Flickr photos, audio streams are also included in Storify, where you can bring all these elements together. So this is just kind of a quick look behind the scenes at what that looks like, and you have live on the back screen, they're actually looking at this curation interface and doing this live, where you can, on the left side, search different sources like Twitter, audio booths up there, Facebook, Flickr, YouTube. You can get elements and you can drag and drop them into your story. Just making it very easy to do this is the idea. Also, the key thing about this is you can add text around these elements. So it's not just about putting together all these random bits into another stream that would again be a confusing thing to read, but really about giving context to social media so that we can help people understand what's going on. That you can talk about, why you've selected this tweet, or maybe why this video is a fake of something happening. I mean, it's not that we can necessarily trust all these things, and we had a quite heated debate about this yesterday on the panel by Christian Payne. How can you trust this information on social media? I think, really it's not that this is any different from what journalists have always done, what anyone has done with information. We just need to take this into the new age and look at these sources as who they are. Be critical, see what we think are the reliable people to talk about. I mean, when we had this person who was the chief of staff from Donald Rumsfeld, I mean, it was clear. People knew who he was. It was his Twitter account. He had a real identity associated with that. There's no reason why that isn't trustworthy information. For other people, I mean, there's definitely a verification role that needs to happen, and social media doesn't take that away. That's still more important than ever. It's more important than ever to have these journalists, bloggers, curators, if you want to call them, putting together these stories where they are going out there, picking these elements, putting them together in a way that matters, because all of us don't have time to watch 5,000 tweets a second, but you do want to know what's going on, and there are these crucial bits out there on social media that are telling stories. So this is just an example of a bunch of stories that different people did after the bin Laden news came out, from the Washington Post, in Australia, ABC News. I mean, they were doing all sorts of stories about how people were reacting and talking about this on social networks, about the guy in Abbottabad who inadvertently live blogged bin Laden's death and didn't even realize it. I mean, these are parts of the story that were definitely happening on social media, and they use Storify to bring that together and embed them on their own site. Another feature we have, which we think is part of reinventing this social media storytelling, is that when you quote people in your story, you can actually then notify them with one click, telling them they have been quoted in a story. So really the idea here is to create these feedback loops and to leverage the web as a social media, which it really is. I really think, social media kind of gets put in this bucket. That means Twitter or Facebook or what the other people, your social media expert is handling. I really think, the entire web is social, and we're now coming to understand that and use that a lot more. So this is part of that, giving feedback to people who are quoted in stories. Another story pretty commonly people use for Storify is weather, things that affect lots of people. So this is MSNBC using this during recent storms that hit the southern United States. Al Jazeera is using Storify to power a new TV show called The Stream, which is all about reporting on social media, using social media, crowdsourcing content. They're using our APIs to actually display stories on their site in different ways. The Washington Post did a story in the winter. This is interesting too. These are tweets from the mayors of New York and Newark, New Jersey. They are directly talking to their constituents. This is the way they are reaching out to people.